Every day, thousands of people hit the road heading towards their dreams. But sometimes those dreams collide with a harsh reality. Auto accidents with 18-wheelers can change lives in an instant. That's why you need the experience and expertise of St. Martin and Bork. With over 50 years of experience, St. Martin and Bork have fought for justice for the victims of truck accidents.
If you've been in a wreck with an 18-wheeler, know your rights.
Call St. Martin and Bork today to schedule your free consultation.
Everybody, welcome into Bayou Time News. I am Harry McCullough. We start with a tragedy that happened last week in Terrebonne Parish, and here to talk a little more about it is Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office First Lieutenant Blake Tabor. Thanks so much for being with us. And man, this is the result: a 14-year-old child you guys found that had been murdered, and it just goes to show that things can get out of hand pretty fast. And man, it's a cautionary tale for sure.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. Of course, these cases are never easy to talk about. This one is about as tragic as they come. I mean, we were talking about this with some of our officers, and I mean, this is the kind of case that nightmares are made of. Ultimately, on Friday, October 25th, shortly after 12:30, we were called to an area of Smith Ridge, which is a neighborhood in Chauvin. Unfortunately, after a resident discovered the deceased remains of a young male in that wooded area directly near his property. Of course, once we got there, deputies were able to quickly determine that there was the lifeless deceased body of a very young male subject. And of course, once that was confirmed, again, detectives immediately respond and we began our investigation, and it happens very fast, as it usually does. Ultimately, from a number of factors, from the clothing this particular victim was wearing and other items, they were able to link him through video surveillance footage to a series of car burglaries that was happening in the area of Chauvin several nights prior. So that would have been Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. They had some video footage of this particular victim matching clothing description, along with two additional male subjects that were also burglarizing vehicles at the time with him. So, of course, with all of this information in hand, they began investigating. There wasn't any specific details related to the two suspects that are involved in this case initially, but they were developed at a later time. So again, anytime we handle these types of cases, we have to go in with doors wide open. We have to look at everything and allow the evidence to sort of narrow down that search of who we're looking at as far as being responsible. So, as our detectives, they are the resident experts here, and they do a phenomenal job here in Terrebonne Parish. And ultimately, as they were conducting that investigation, we got pretty lucky. So ultimately, a family member of one of the alleged suspects came forward, providing detectives with information that that particular suspect may have been involved in the death of this young male. That also lended some additional information to a parent of another male suspect who confirmed to us that he admitted to being involved in the death of the male subject. So again, detectives sprung into action, brought both of those male subjects in, and began questioning them, where one of them did admit to being responsible for the death of this 14-year-old kid. And I say males, these are juveniles as well. It's important to note that we're not releasing their age or identity at this point for obvious reasons, but they were in fact juveniles as well. The second suspect involved in this was also used, he invoked his right to an attorney. He did not speak with us at that time, along with his parent. And ultimately, both male suspects are in custody, so we're happy to report that. But they have both been charged with second-degree murder in connection with this investigation.
So this wasn't a case of rival gangs, or these were friends working together, and then something went wrong where one of the friends was shot.
Absolutely. It certainly appears at this point that all three, the deceased and the two male suspects, had knowledge of each other. were on talking terms or terms in which they were dealing with each other while they were committing these crimes. What specifically led to the victim being shot, I know that matter is still under investigation. But regardless, this is an extremely tragic event, as we've talked about before going on air. I mean, we hear a lot about comments that are made on our Facebook anytime we do posts like this, right? And one of the hot topics that everyone wants to talk about is these kids not being raised properly, okay? I would urge people to really slow down and allow this investigation to take place before you pass judgment on people that you don't know. It's really important. The families of the victim, the families of the suspects are going through a lot of trying times right now. And I would like to urge that, seemingly the parents of these suspects did the right thing. They heard information. I mean, can you imagine listening and receiving information about your child being involved in this? But they came forward to law enforcement. They did the right thing and allowed us to do our job and allowed us to investigate the matter. So we are grateful to them for doing what they did. Of course, it brought light to this investigation. And again, we're just trying to bring peace to everyone and closure through this very difficult time.
Which we've also seen if they didn't help out and those kind of things. Look, these are tight-knit communities, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody knows each other. So you might have going back and forth, right? And then you get revenge things, which leads to more and more violence and escalation of those kinds
Absolutely.
of things.
Far too many times we've seen where people have not been cooperative with law enforcement. So anytime that is the case, we are certainly grateful. It takes the involvement of community members and law enforcement to make our communities better as a whole. And we're just grateful that this panned out the way it did.
Do you guys help out and give resources, for a little area like this that may be going through something like that? Like, hey, we can help out.
Absolutely. There are a lot of resources. Again, we are providing additional patrols. We're providing security for any type of events that are vigils that they may hold. We are working closely in concert with those families and victims to make sure that they have everything they need. I can assure you of that.
Absolutely. Well, Blake, appreciate it. It's a tough story, but appreciate the update.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.